Let's start with them Georgia Bulldogs. You obviously got the non-conference game to start off the year, and on these schedules, I put an in out to the side of the neutral site games so that we would understand that that's not a home game, even though it says versus. But August 31st, you're going to have a kickoff game, neutral site, and is that in Atlanta or Charlotte? I think it's in Atlanta, right?
I think it's a Chick-fil-A kickoff, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's in.
Yeah.
Atlanta. Obviously, going to be a huge game. We saw this game. What was it in 21?
21.
Um, and little did Georgia fans know that that would be the national championship season to break the seal. I am not completely sure what to expect with Clemson. Clemson has been a team that again has went to the transfer portal, like basically not went to the portal at all for any of their holes. So they lost a few players through the portal. I'm very interested to see how the quarterback progresses this year in that offense. Got some coaching changes there. What do you think about that Clemson game? That's going to be a tone setter for whoever can come out and win that game early in the year, don't you think?
I think so, and I think that both coaches love having this matchup at the beginning of the year to work all off season for and get prepared for. Probably Clemson more so than Georgia. Clemson's looking and saying like, "Man, we could play upset, here and win the first game of the year and be in the top 10." Against the number one preseason ranked team, and by most accounts, I would say that Georgia will probably be the number one ranked team. So I think that one's really interesting. Then you got Kentucky, before the bye. I think that one will be a pretty fun game. Get to see Brock Vandagriff, the former Georgia quarterback, and a new look Kentucky Wildcat team. They've made some additions in the transfer portal, and I'm excited to see what they do with them. Then, of course, you got a bye in Alabama, right? You run into the meat of the schedule right there in the middle, and it's bookended by Alabama and Texas. Auburn is not going to be any slouch. We're going to go over their schedule here in a minute, but I think that Auburn's going to be pretty tough this year as well. But yeah, to me, I mean, I look at the Alabama game. I'm obviously interested in that. I'd love to go to that game. Love to go to Austin to see, the Longhorns stadium and all. And after that, you've got Ole Miss, who might be a top 5 team still at the end of the year. And I mean, it's a tough schedule. We've said it before, but I think if Georgia goes 12-0, this would be like the greatest 12-0 regular season that college football's ever seen.
Hands down, no doubt about it. I don't think Georgia's going 12-0. By the way,
right?
I don't see that happening. Now, I said that last year. I'm gonna be honest with you. I said that last year, and Georgia ended up going 12-0. And there's not. I don't think there's a game on here that Georgia's not going to be favored.
Right.
So, it's hard to pick out which one. I think that at the game at Texas is going to be tough, very tough. And you get the bye week after that, and then you've got Florida. Not worried about Florida, really. I think that defense is going to be pretty rough this year for Florida. We have no idea what the offense is going to be either. I think it's going to be a real tough year for them. We'll go over their schedule here shortly. But I hate it for Georgia fans in the sense that there's 2 neutral site games on this schedule out of 12 games. I hate that for Georgia fans, and I say stuff all the time, and I try to have it from a college football fan's point of view because that's what I am after all. I know as a Georgia fan, I'm wanting home games, man. And, it's not a great home slate, really, by any means. I mean, you're going to Alabama, to Kentucky, to Texas, to Ole Miss. So you got Tennessee at home. That's going to be a big one. Georgia Tech at home, depending on what, Georgia's record is at the end of the season, that they'll sell out for that. and you get Auburn at home, who Georgia has absolutely throttled Auburn at home over the last 20 years. I mean, I think Auburn's beat Georgia at home 3 times over the last 20 years or 25 years or something like that. It's not many. Now, that being said, Auburn is going to be much improved, and we're going to go over their schedule here in a minute as well. I think that's a much improved football team, so don't get me wrong there. But all that being said, I don't think Georgia's going 12-0 this year. I'd be very surprised. And look, I wear the G on my chest here. I'm a big fan. I hope Georgia goes 11-0. Okay, that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm a fanatic just like y'all. So I have ridiculous goals for my team. But yeah, the way the buys are set up, I am pretty happy with that. They're nice and spaced out. You get that first chunk of the season. You got a big game against Clemson. You go on the road to Kentucky. I think I think this sets up well for Georgia. We talked about earlier in the show. We were talking about Alabama's schedule and how you start off slow, and that's good for an offense that's trying to figure things out. I don't think this is going to be an offense that's trying to figure things out. I think that this offense for this Georgia team is going to lead the team to start, right? I think that they're going to be the catalyst that propels this team, at least in the first half of the season. And then I think you're going to see that defense really start to lock down as the season goes on. But I love the fact that Georgia has a couple of big games in the first 3 weeks. I think that's going to get everybody's attention in fall camp. And then you've got to bye before you go on the road to Alabama. And you roll off a few very important games. It's that stretch between September 28th and October 19th that's so important. At Alabama, at home versus Auburn, at home versus Mississippi State, and then at Texas. If Georgia can go 4-0 in that span right there, then they do stand a damn good chance to go 12-0. That's a big part of the schedule, because then you're off of that bye week. And obviously, this is barring major injuries. We can't predict that type of stuff and never would try to. But after you get through those 4 games and you've got that bye week, October 26th, Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, Georgia Tech, I feel pretty good about the Dogs being able to take care of business there. And then even if you do drop one game, I don't think it's the end of the world. So I think with it being a very tough schedule, which it is, one of the hardest schedules we've seen Georgia have over the last decade or so, I think that there's still, the way it's set up, I think it sets up pretty well for Georgia and this ultra talented team that the Georgia Bulldogs are going to be putting on the field in 2024.